1976, one of the best years in rock music, produced a plethora of classic albums. We'll take a look at 50 of the best, 50 albums that turned 50 this year, part 1, coming up next on Music Meanderings. Hi, I'm Mike Lamneck, and thanks for joining us for Music Meanderings. Won't you take the time to leave a comment? Please subscribe to the channel, and you can also leave a donation by just pressing the thanks button at the bottom of the video. It all greatly helps the channel and is much appreciated. Well, today I look at 50 albums that celebrate their 50th birthday this year. Classic albums, all released in the American bicentennial year of 1976. Now, I didn't include greatest hits collections or compilations in this list, but I did include live albums, and boy, are there some great ones. I'm going to go month to month and look at this fantastic year in music, starting in January 1976. One of the best-selling albums of all time, the epic Frampton Comes Alive. Yes, I think everybody received a free copy of this album. Well, no, but it seemed like it. Everybody had this album, Frampton Comes Alive. This is not my original copy of it, but I did purchase it when it was first released very early on, just on the strength of the live version of Do You Feel Like We Do, and also Show Me the Way, that was getting a lot of radio airplay, but it holds up real well. Frampton Comes Alive. Also released that same month in January, David Bowie released his Station to Station on January 23rd, part of his Thin White Duke period, I guess you would say. The album contained his big single, Golden Years, still one of my favorites. Well, February 1976 came roaring in with the release of Lynyrd Skynyrd's fourth studio album, and Give Me Back My Bullets, and Sweet's fourth studio album, also released that year. Give Us a Wink, one of my favorites. Starcastle's debut album came out in February 1976, and immediately, of course, started drawing Yes comparisons. And unfortunately, this great band was never able to quite establish their own identity, I think, and get rid of the constant Yes comparisons. But a great band, and certainly a great debut album there. Well, Kiss released their much awaited follow-up to Kiss Alive on March 15th, 1976. Yes, you know it. Perhaps you'll love it. Kiss Destroyer. In my own opinion, not their best studio album, but a lot of people would disagree with that, and that is fine. Kiss Destroyer, released as the follow-up to Kiss Alive. Thin Lizzy's best-selling album, Jailbreak, also came out. And what a day it was, March 26, 1976, as you had the release of Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak, one of the first rock albums I ever bought, by the way. Wings at the Speed of Sound, and Judas Priest classic Sad Wings of Destiny, all dropping on March 26, 1976. Robin Trower Live provided a great setting for Trower to exhibit his guitar skills. And Joe Walsh also released his solo live album, which I recently picked up, and that is You Can't Argue with the Sick Mind. Great live album, his last album for ABC Records, and he would join the Eagles shortly after this record and would appear on a classic album by them that we'll talk about, comes up later in 1976. Well, Rush turned the corner with their epic album 2112, and Boz Scaggs also broke into the mainstream with the singles Low Down, Lido Shuffle, and his high watermark solo album Silk Degrees. I'm Mike Lamneck. We're taking a look at some of the best 50 albums that came out in 1976, celebrating their 50th birthday this year. This is Part 1. April 1976 saw the release of two benchmark live sets. Bob Seger's Live Bullet, which was a breakthrough, much the same as Kiss Alive, where he just wasn't doing great with his studio releases. And he decided, I'm going to put out a live album because that's where I really shine. Nutbush City Limits, Traveling Man, of course, Turn the Page, Ramblin' Gamblin' Man, Get Out of Denver. Great live album. And also released in April of 1976, another band that was really known more for their live shows. And that is the Jay Giles Band. They released a lot of live albums, and rightfully so, because, as I said, this is where the band really stood out. Somehow they were never really able to capture the energy of their live shows with a studio recording. But this excellent double album remains as one of the best live albums, I think, of all time. Live, the Jay Giles Band, and Blow Your Face Out. With Southside Shuffle, Detroit Breakdown, Where Did Our Love Go, House Party. Just a great party record. The Stones released their funky but polarizing 13th studio album, Black and Blue. Now, personally, it's one of my favorite Stones albums, but a lot of people don't share that opinion, and I actually do an in-depth look at that album in a video that you can check out later on this channel. 1976, New York's The Ramones blasted out their debut self-titled release, and rock and roll would never be the same. What many fans believe to be their finest moment, talking about Aerosmith and Rocks, debuted on May 3rd, 1976. That was the first I heard of Aerosmith, because my older brother actually had that on 8-track and would blare that out of his car. Well, the album continued in the same vein as the successful predecessor, Toys in the Attic, further established Aerosmith as one of the top rock bands of the era. Speaking of which, AC/DC stormed onto the scene in May with their introduction to the world and their first international release, High Voltage. Rainbow's second album, the classic Rising, came out on May 17, 1976, and Blue Oyster Cult released their commercial breakthrough, Agents of Fortune, on May 21st. More cowbell? Anybody? Steve Miller finally found his mainstream acceptance with the album Fly Like an Eagle, top-selling album with top-selling singles off of it, of course. The title cut, Fly Like an Eagle, Take the Money and Run. Just a great album. Steve Miller, Fly Like an Eagle, also released in May of 1976. All right, moving on to June 1976. Saw the release of Rod Stewart's Night on the Town, featuring the #1 single for the entire year of 1976, according to Billboard magazine. Tonight's the night, gonna be all right. And also his cover of Cat Stevens' The First Cut is the Deepest. Alice Cooper Goes to Hell showed the shock rockers' sensitive side with the ballad single I Never Cry. And the Alan Parsons Project debut, Tales of Mystery and Imagination, also came out on June 25th, 1976. Glam rockin' band Angel dropped their sophomore set, Hell of a Band, and New York City band Stars released their strong debut. And that's just the first half of 1976. Well, please comment below, subscribe to the channel, and check back for part 2 of 50 albums that turned 50 this year. Coming soon on Music Meanderings.